And hi there, welcome to BET 2019. And here at the Net Support stand, we're celebrating our 30th anniversary. We're going to be showcasing some fantastic new updates to our network management software, the release of our new Contextual Intelligence Risk Index to support our safeguarding, as well as updates for Really School, our classroom assessment tool, and our classroom instruction tool.
If we start at a very high level, and I can kind of switch over first of all to a trustee and a governor hat, we all as stakeholders in school have an obligation in terms of safeguarding at any level. Technology is just one strand of safeguarding, but we have an obligation in terms of protecting our young people and providing a safe environment. As governors, we have an obligation to make sure the right policies are in place and are enforced appropriately. But we can then switch over to keeping children safe in education, and within that framework there's obligations on the school in terms of internet filtering, age-appropriate controls of websites, monitoring tools and so on. So we can kind of start and say, well, how do we empower or provide that kind of information? You know, and lots of the strands today are about facilitating access and how do we know about what children are doing online. And it's very easy to take.
How are you addressing them?
Well, of course, officially there are no budget cuts. There's more going into education than ever before. That's the party line, isn't it? And we all have a good snigger and we say, and back in the real world, the reality is the new funding formula means there are budget cuts, and there are more demands, there are more children, there are more costs than there is increase in budgets. And wearing, as you alluded to, my role as chair of a trust, there are different strategies that a trust can take in terms of the economies of scale that are available. And I suppose we all start from that point of the last thing you want to impact is the business of the day, which is teaching and learning. And of course, given our previous conversation, the safeguarding and making school the right kind of place for a child to develop and learn. So the economies of scale that schools are looking at in kind of priority terms are how do we bring together things like our HR, our finance, and very relevant to our conversation, our IT services. Where can we leverage and pull together a centralised resource that might allow us, regrettably in some cases, they need less staff to deliver the same services, to pool our purchasing power, to make sure that technology is deployed in the right places where it's most effectively used. As you know, one of the strands from the technology that we deliver at Net Support is about identifying what's out there and whether it's effectively used. Have you got machines that only get turned on twice a day? Are there software licenses that by default we just renew every year as a school? What's out there in all those different curriculum departments? What machines are left on overnight? The list goes on. So there's that.
Have their content knowledge. You went to university, you studied history, and you've got your pedagogical knowledge, you taught and learned as a teacher. But technology sits as that underpinning framework, how it can enhance the way that a teacher can deliver the content knowledge and teaching within the classroom. And it's all built around the concept of there's stuff we do with paper that we could replace and do more efficiently for the right reasons, and we're back to our eyes. You know, what's the reason we're doing it? What's the intent? How are we going to actually deliver that? And what's the impact? Well, looking at an atlas is one way. Often alongside that, by identifying what's in your IT estate, there are savings to be made in terms of that upgradability, that misuse of software, potentially doing things like energy monitoring, controlling power consumption, all sorts of different things that are all about saving money for a school. And there's also the element of the technology that supports the educators. In most schools, there are those kind of marginal gains, those frustrations that when you want to use technology, there are issues, whether it's students who've forgotten passwords or new apps that you want that haven't yet been deployed. So providing tech. With the pressures on schools and MATs in the current time, when it comes to financial pressures, budgets, and delivering those promised economies of scale, the most important aspect is having a tight grip of your IT estate. It starts from a leadership and management perspective with knowing what you've already got, getting the most out of what you've got, and then when it comes to adding additional kit to your school and enterprise, having the ability to evidence and show the impact that technology has made.
Have a passion about education and about delivering opportunity for young people. Net Support has got a really good relationship with City College, and it's something that we've developed over a number of years now. And during that time, we started off having our first apprentice. We've now had nearly 10 apprentices, and what really stands out for us is this is about growing an individual and work with that young person and City College in partnership until the point where they pass through the process and become a full-time employee in Net Support.
The things we should do, and hopefully making sure we look at the things that we must do. And I really kind of wanted to break it down into some key areas. So we're all hopefully familiar with Kingsley in terms of our obligations, prevent duty, which gets thrown about as part of the conversation, GDPR and data protection. I should really whisper that so that somebody's ears don't pick up over there and Tony wants to ask a question. So out of that, we've got our safeguarding checklist about the things we need to be aware of. We're all responsible for safeguarding and duty of care as people who work within the education space. Ofsted inspection framework has a feedback into that, which is more and more important, so it's important that we're aware of that. And if I put my trust governance hat on, it's very much a question of, are we doing these things? How can we evidence that? Do we have confidence that should we get the call, these kind of aspects are being done? As well as here at Net Support, all have a moral obligation to ensure our tools support and protect our students, both online and offline. And that's what we do here. I'm proud to say I am a digital citizen.